This lesson, we will be looking at our argumentative IAN. So you're going to need to flip over your interactive notebook to the writing side. You should have received two papers. The first one should look like this. It should say the machine layout at the top. And the second one is a really thick packet, and the first page says Glossary of Good Beginnings. So the only thing you should have right now on your writing side is your table of contents. So we're going to go ahead and just work on our first blank page. And for this, you're going to need the machine layout paper. You're going to cut around it. Don't bother cutting really detailed. Just go ahead and cut around it. It'll make gluing easier. So when you're done cutting around it, it should look like this. Make sure that when you glue in, you are making sure that those little tiny rectangles are on the left-hand side, because we will be writing something in that later. So go ahead and take your glue and put just enough. You don't want to overdo it. And you're just going to glue it into the center of the page. I know you don't have to worry about having space at the top because we're getting our title elsewhere on the page. So once you have that glued in, what you're going to do is you're going to take your pencil or your pen, and we're going to write the title on the side, on the left-hand side. So the title that we are going to be putting is Argumentative Outline. Okay, so make sure you're spelling that right. Argumentative Outline. And again, that should go on the side. So here's a better look of what the title would look like. So your first page is done. Now, before you continue, you want to go back into the table of contents and make sure that you add the first page. So you're titling it Argumentative Outline, and you're putting page 1. Remember, when we do notebook checks, I'm going to be checking to make sure that you have the page numbers and you have the table of contents filled out. Now you're going on to your next page. So the next blank page is going to be the packet. So you're going to be using the first page, Glossary of Good Beginnings, and just cut around it. It will fit. We're going to be folding it so that it will fit, but just go ahead and cut around it so that way you can get rid of that extra paper. So when you do cut it, it should look like this. And go ahead and cut the second paper. It should look like this. So what you're going to do, once you have both of those papers cut, is you're going to be taking it and folding it into thirds like this. So fold it into thirds, and then you're going to take the second paper and you're going to do the same exact thing with it. You're going to fold it into thirds, just like this. This is going to make it so that it can fit on the page easily and it's still easily accessible. So you're taking your first one, make sure it says number 1, and you're going to put glue on the back of it. Make sure you're not gluing all of it, just the back. You don't want to glue the flaps down too. So you're going to put glue on the back of it, and then you're going to put it not quite all the way at the edge of your paper, more closer to the center of your paper, but still leaving space for the other one. So the other one starting at in the 20s, I believe it's 23. You are going to be putting glue on the back of that as well, and you're just going to glue it right next to the first one that we just glued in. So go ahead and glue that in. And so now you should have left some space on the side for you to write your title. Just like we did on the previous page, we're writing our title in the margin on the side sideways. So for this one, you're going to be titling it Glossary of Good Beginnings. Now I know I don't go back into my table of contents right now. That's because I go back in the end and I do it all at the same time. Now I just put list 1 and list 2 so it makes it easier for me to remember where to start. Now I'm going to go to my next blank page, and I'm literally just taking the next page out of my packet and I'm just cutting around the box. Now with the line next to where you have the hook number, you're going to want to fold it somewhere around that line so that way it can fit better on your page. And you're going to want to put glue on the back of it, And when you glue it, you don't want to glue it too close to the center margin, because you will have to write on that part that says hook number. And if you glue it too close to the center margin, it'll be a little bit difficult to write in. So now I'm going to add a title at the top. So the title that I'm putting is Developing a Good Hook, or you could even just write Developing a Hook. So it should look like that. So now I'm going to flip my page to my next blank page, and I'm taking the next page out of the packet, which is the one that says Writing the Thesis at the top. For that one, you're just going to cut around all of the information, and then you're just going to glue that in. So I'm going ahead and putting glue, and then I'm just going to glue it in the center of the page. We don't need to write a title because the title is already there, which is Writing the Thesis. If you want, you can still write the title, Writing the Thesis, bigger so it can catch your eye, but you don't need to. Now for this next page, the paper is actually going to be cut into two parts. The first one is the generator part. Don't forget to don't cut off the title for that. And then the second page is the one with all the lines at the bottom. Now, just like in the hook page, along that line, we're going to go ahead and fold. And then you're going to flip it over and put glue at the back. And then you're going to want to glue this closer to the right side of your page, because we're going to be putting the title to the left of it. So you're going to grab your pencil and you're going to put the title, and the title is Thesis Generator. And what I did was, after I put my title, I put an arrow. Since I know I'm putting two things on this page, I didn't want to get confused as to which one was which. Then I'm taking my next paper, and in order to fit this, I'm going to have to fold it in half. And then I'm going to glue it in a way where when I open it, it flaps upwards. The way I'm doing it is making it so that the flap will not be falling out of the book on accident at all. If ever it opens, it would be open towards the inside of the book, like so. So now this part needs its own title as well. So I'm going to grab my pencil and I'm going to start writing the title. So the title that I'm putting is Generated Thesis. And I'm also drawing a little arrow so I can know which one I'm talking about. So now you're going to turn to your next blank page, and you're going to take the next part of the packet, and this one's going to be 2 pages. So the citing evidence, you're going to take the first page. Make sure you don't cut off all the way at the bottom, because I am asking you to write 3 things there, so you need to give yourself space where you can write. So you're going to take that first one and you're going to put glue on the back of it. And again, it doesn't matter if you put this one all the way to the top, because the title of it is already there. So I just put mine closer to the top, and it should fit just perfectly without sticking out of your notebook. And then you're going to take the second page and you're going to put glue on the back of that. And then you're going to glue that down on the page right next to it. So it should look like that. So there's both pages. So now you're going to go to the next blank page, and you're going to be using the next page in the packet, which is the signal phrases and then the examples of the in-text citations. And you're going to go ahead and put glue on that. And if you cut around it, it should fit just perfectly into your interactive notebook. And you don't need to put a title because the title is already at the top. So then you're going to take the next page and you're just going to cut all around it, and you're going to glue that in. And again, you don't need to put a title because the title's already there. So then you're going to take the next blank page And for this one, you're going to take the gathering evidence and you are going to put glue on the back, and it should fit just perfectly onto the page. Just like this. And then finally, you're taking your last page and you're just cutting out that box, and you're going to fold on that line as best as you can. It doesn't have to be exact. And then you're going to put glue on the back, and you're going to glue it closer to the center of the page, leaving yourself some space at the top for the title. So once you have that glued down, you're going to go ahead and take your pencil and you're going to title it Counter Arguments, or Counter Argument, excuse me. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to fill in my table of contents. So after I have my argumentative outline, the next thing that I had was my glossary of good beginnings. So I'm going to go in and put page 2, and I'm going to put glossary of good beginnings. After my glossary of good beginnings, I started talking about my hook. So I'm going to put number 3 for page 3, and I'm going to put developing a hook. After developing a hook, on pages 4 and 5, writing a thesis. Then you're going to be on page 6 and 7, citing evidence. On page 8, you should be writing signal phrases, or you could write instead including evidence. Then on page 9, you're writing PEE strategy. On page 10, gathering evidence. And on page 11, counter argument. Don't forget to go back and add your page numbers. Now, the first page should be the machine layout. Then you have your glossary of good beginnings, where both flaps should open. Then you have developing a good hook. Then you have writing the thesis. Then you should have your thesis generator, and below that, your generated thesis. Then you have citing evidence for both pages. Then you have including evidence, the PE strategy, gathering evidence, and counter argument.